Good morning, you guys. So, it is the 15th of July here in Sydney, Australia. Uh, Probably all of you guys heard the news about um, President Trump, former President Trump, being um, shot or grazed. Um, I don't know, you guys. I don't know where any of this is heading anymore. Uh, I don't even know. I don't even know at all what to believe anymore in anything, anywhere. I obviously have a lot of different podcast people I listen to, the news, obviously talking with different friends who are all on the spectrum from being very liberal to being conservative. And I feel like for myself, I've just gotten to a point where I have to openly admit I don't know what to believe anymore. From anyone, from anything. I mean, it's just like since it started for me a little bit prior to Corona. I already started questioning the narrative about a lot of things. And I kind of was like, a lot of these things are just not making sense to me anymore. I already mentioned on my channel how I think being able to be a world traveler has opened my eyes, but not in the way that most people thought. Most people thought that if I became a world traveler, all of a sudden I would become uber compassionate, uber empathetic. And I do think I'm an empathetic person, but if anything, I feel like having traveled as much as I have and talked to people in all these different countries and seen how all these different countries are run, I think more than anything, I've actually become hypercritical of just the generic narrative that we are fed in the Western world about what society is, how society works. Just starting to question more just things that we're being told we have to accept as the truth. You guys know the trans thing was like a big awakening thing for me, where I was just like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, we're just being told we have to just now all of a sudden think and accept the idea that men can be women and women can be men. And then of course my big, well, I was just like, I can't trust anything anymore, was when Corona came out. And if you guys don't believe me, you can go back to 2020 and the videos I made. I that was like the last time I lost like a big amount of subscribers again, because I was just like, I'm not believing anything that the government is telling us when it comes to this. This whole entire thing is a complete scam. These forced shutdowns, these are all ways just to steal our liberties and to take away our freedoms, and which they're obviously not going to give back to us again. I was so against all of these things, and it really gave me a big, what is that in the Matrix? Blue pill, red pill? I forget which one takes you out of the Matrix. I don't remember which color, but anyway, it was like, you can decide to stay in the Matrix and forget everything, or you can decide to be free. And that was definitely my moment where I took the pill and kind of like, I feel I awoke, not woke, but awoke, became awake to a lot of just the nonsense that we're being told, and the things that we hold on to, especially a lot of this victim culture, this, you know, yeah, especially the victim culture thing. I just completely was like, okay, no, this is just all completely ridiculous. The way that the Western world is being spun, all completely ridiculous. The way that we're mass fed medications for every little thing. You go to the doctor and you're like, oh, when I bend my finger like this all the way back and you hear a little crack sound, well, that hurts. Oh, really? well, then first of all, let's put you on antidepressants. Let's put you on all these barbiturates. Like let's put you on like a huge chemical cocktail, and oh, then you're a lifetime addict. Well, that sucks. Just so many things I started questioning, and on the one hand, I'm like, I've obviously found other people who are really now more aligned, where they're going like, I'm questioning things. A lot of these things just aren't adding up. They don't make sense. Then at the same time, I think one of the downsides of questioning things and really kind of going like, I'm not just going to take the narrative that I'm being told, is how far do you go with questioning things till you just all of a sudden completely unravel as a person. And one of the things, what I mean here is, when I started watching the news coverage about, former President Trump being shot at, it's already like, we already have these camps now again, right? Where we have the people on the left kind of going like, well, the shooter was a registered Republican. We told you guys you shouldn't do, you shouldn't take, we shouldn't be allowed to have these kind of weapons, and it's the fault of the right and them protecting the Second Amendment. Also, just seeing a lot of people writing things like, well, I don't condone shootings, but if you're gonna shoot someone, at least take like shooting lessons. Which, seeing how many people are commenting things like that is disturbing. Where have we gotten as a society where people are actually making jokes out of somebody's life about to being taken? I'm like, it actually, if anything, all that makes me really upset again about the hypocrisy of the left, who constantly are trying to say how they're the more empathetic people. They care about people's feelings. They care about everyone. And I'm kind of like, you're saying you care about people, but now you're making a joke about somebody potentially being killed just because you don't believe with their political alignment. Then you don't care about people. It's just completely demented and disturbed where some people are nowadays. But anyway, so now like the left is already kind of spinning this narrative, and the right is already spinning this narrative of, oh, was this a takedown from the CIA? Was everybody inside? And I can't help but, just because I've also started questioning things so much, I'm not gonna lie, there was a part of me that now actually already was like, was Trump in the know-how about this? Like, was this a setup planned by Trump? Because let's face it, this shooting has now 100% made it sure that he's going to become the president again. Like, everybody's going to rally behind him now. Everyone's going to be like, there's something they don't want us to know. They want to keep him out of the presidency at any means possible. So we definitely have to vote for him. He's the only one who can save America at this point. I have to admit, part of me is now already kind of going like, I wonder if he was smart enough to be like, I'm going to be in on it, graze my ear, and that will ensure my presidency. And the reason I'm saying that part of me has even thought that now already is that what I'm saying is, I am now borderline at the point where, unless I personally experience it, personally see it, witness it, taste it, look at it, hear it, whatever, ingest it, whatever, I don't know if I believe it anymore. Like, I'm just gotten to the point where I just don't know if I can believe anything anymore. Even like the people that I watch on podcasts, I actually did get sucked in again to watching Candace Owens' now independent podcast. And the thing is, like, she is somebody who really pushes a lot of conspiracy theories, and that's a thing in and of itself. But the part that I think is so weird is, like, she'll make a scenario where she's kind of like, the JFK assassination thing, this was performed by the CIA, the US was in on it, that's why they won't give us the files, that's why they won't tell us anything for certain about what happened. And she's like, so you cannot trust these people, you can't trust anything. By the way, I'm reading this book, like she's been promoting it for the last couple of episodes of hers, called Chaos, and she's like, I read it in this book, so it's true. And I'm kind of, and it's just weird to me seeing this, because I'm at the point now where I'm just like, well, if you're basically telling me I have to question every, because now she even said that she was in a conversation with flat earthers, you know, and I talked with my friend Natalia about it a little bit as well. I was like, how far do you question things till you decide, okay, now this is the truth, right? Or as of here, this is this, because, you know, because like, okay, now I know what I'm trying to say. Because the thing is, like, if you're going to go in now and if we're now as conservatives, you know, I don't know, am I conservative? I don't even know anymore. I feel like all these labels have just become so meaningless now. Wherever I am on the political spectrum at this point, I'm totally pro questioning things and questioning what we've been told, and just saying, you know, and like a lot of the people that I've watched now, they're kind of like, you know, we have to question the way our history was taught. We have to question if the moon landing was real. We have to question if, like, Earth, like, you know, the Earth, and is it really round, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm kind of like, well, okay, but if we take this conspiracy thinking, I feel like at this point the left and the right are kind of meeting in the middle again. I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to say we it's now legitimate to question whether or not the Earth is flat or not, which I don't want to say she said that. She just said that she's now in conversation with flat earthers and she's willing to hear their thing. But like even like other people, you know, Tucker, who I don't really watch, I think he's a little bit crazy. Joe Rogan, I don't know, whoever you're listening to, they bring up some of these theories and they're kind of like, you know, you can't really trust what the history books say or whatever. And I'm kind of like, well, if we can't trust anything at this point anymore, then I'm going to have to now go back and re-examine my idea of gender and sexuality and say, well, then why is it not okay to question whether or not there's only two sexes? Isn't this basically in the same realm? I'm like, if we're saying that everything is a conspiracy theory, everything has to be questioned, everything we've been taught in history and in mathematics and in science, everything, like global warming, it's not real, it's actually, you know, like there's no science to prove it. And then, you know, and I'm kind of like, well, if all of these other things are open for questioning now, isn't it a hypocrisy to then say, but sex is real, men and women, this is real, you know, anatomy is real, you know, the roles of men and women is real. I don't know. Like I have to honestly tell you guys, I'm at a point where I'm so confused and I have such a headache, because I'm kind of like, somewhere we have to decide to accept something as a truth. And if we're just gonna start unraveling and questioning everything, then we're not gonna have any kind of basis of truth anymore. Like, and I don't really know where I feel like that's going to end. I don't really feel like I know if this is really going to be a benefit to society in the long run anymore. You know, if now we're going to go back and rewrite all the history books and be like, oh, it turns out, you know, this person didn't assassinate this person, and it turns out this isn't the way things work, and this isn't, and now we're gonna, like, now we're gonna, I don't know if I'm making a good job explaining what I'm trying to get across, but I actually have to say I'm completely feeling overwhelmed at this point in time right now, because because for us to make an argument that something is untrue or that something is not based in fact, we actually then have to establish something where we say, okay, this is however fact and this is however true. And if now both the left have picked certain things where they're kind of going like, well, we're going to now argue that these things aren't real truths and therefore we can destroy them and take them apart. And then now the right is doing the same thing, and they're just doing it maybe for some other topics because they so much want to push the narrative of God and a belief in God. So anything that goes against the Bible or the belief in God, that we have the right to pull that apart. Everything that has to do with the government, we can pull it apart. And and I feel like now these two groups are kind of now meeting somewhere again, where it's just kind of like question everything. Everything is just arbitrary. Everything is just up for, reinterpretation. And I don't know if that's actually going to lead us to a long-term good. Part of me is kind of going like maybe we should do something where, even like with, I have an unpopular opinion, of course, with like the Israel-Palestine thing, where I'm kind of like, I don't know, to me there's something like, I feel like there should be something where it's like when something comes up, you have 5 or 6 years to, resolve it if you don't like it with it. And then once it's not, then it becomes part of the mainstream consciousness and this is the agreed upon thing, and then like you can't attack it anymore. So like one of my things with Israel is always kind of like, Israel has now been around since after World War II. To me, it's just kind of like it has been an established country. I don't want to do, for me, I just don't want to talk about it anymore. It's an established country at this point. Deal with it. Okay, your great grandfather lost his land. Sorry. Oh well, life goes on. I know, and this is kind of how I'm starting to think about a lot of these, like, I'm kind of like, does it really help us as a society to now go back and rewrite all of our foundations in terms of historic truths? And I don't know. I don't know, you guys. I'm actually really kind of overwhelmed at this point because I'm like, I don't know if this is a benefit to us to make us question everything. Because at some point we do need to we need to get to a consensus about something, I'm like, and I'm not really fully even understanding, how a lot of these pro-Trumpers, pro-America people, we now have people like Matt Walsh and Candace Owens and all this kind of stuff. They're so talking about how horrible the U.S. government is, how horrible the FBI is, how horrible the CIA is. But then at the same time, they're kind of like, America is number one. America is the most amazing country in the world. And I'm like, well, America is to some degree based off of these governmental institutions that we have. And now we're basically saying all of our governmental institutions suck. We're openly saying that. Well, is America really that great? Is America the best country in the world? To me, these are two completely opposing things. You guys, I'm so apathetic at this point where I'm really starting to kind of go, I don't believe anyone anymore. I don't trust anyone anymore. I don't know if I trust any government. I definitely don't trust any government official anymore. I don't know if I can trust a single person I watch, any of the pundits I watch. Again, somebody like Candace Owens, like she recently really has been throwing Jordan Peterson under the bus, who I admit I don't really watch anymore. I think he became a little bit too esoteric for me. Is that an English word? But like, I just don't know I just don't know who to trust about anything anymore, even when you see it in your own eyes. Like I said, like I saw the footage of Trump, and and really I have to also tell you, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to believe. At this point, I would probably be open to, even like I said, the idea that he knew that it was all totally timed, because a lot of people have already pointed out, it's like if he hadn't turned his head at exactly that moment, they're saying that there's people pointing out that there was, a potential shooter on this roof. Like a lot of things just lined up a little too perfectly to where I'm kind of like, I don't know. Did Trump maybe plan this and kind of go like, just graze my ear, and that way I can, I don't know. Cause even like his reaction, I'm like, I'm not saying there aren't some really, really amazingly brave human beings out there, and I'm sure there are some really just incredibly amazing people out there in the world who just survived an assassination attempt, and then they're gonna turn around and be like, yeah. But I think those people are really, maybe Trump is one of those. I can't say he's not, but like, I think if somebody had shot me, hell, I wouldn't have gotten up again. I would have crawled off that thing, crying and screaming and like, ah! They're trying to kill me, save me, you know. I can't speak for anybody else, obviously, but just for myself, I just think it's really. If we're going to say that the government is this incredibly evil entity, then I can't help but feel like maybe the most evil thing that they're doing is actually telling people on both sides, don't trust anything you hear or say anymore. Because once nobody trusts anything anymore, everything is open to be questioned. Everything is open to be reinterpreted, right? It's kind of like even now them saying the shooter was a registered Republican, and now you have all of the right-leaning media kind of going like, well, but he gave 2 donations to Biden, so obviously he's not. You know, and I'm like everything is so. Not that I don't even know if it matters if he was a registered Republican or not, but I don't know, you guys. I don't know. I honestly just don't know. The Western world at this point, I think, is just completely effed. Europe is done. The US is done. Canada is done. Australia is so done. Australia is so done. At this point, I think the best thing anybody can do is find yourself a Chinese husband or wife and sign up for the Chinese Communist Party, because they're going to be the next, or marry a Russian and support Putin, because these are going to be the next superpowers. I mean, the West is done.